see the people, the paper is published, and you can see the people who put a lot of effort. We have Duncan, we have the Nursing Council, the Ministry of Health, and also the Kenya Medical Training College, including the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine. This midwife will be able to deliver about 90% of essential sexual, reproductive, maternal, and neonatal health and across the life course. And this also could actually save up to 4.5 million mothers and their babies by the year 2035. Midwifery education, particularly in the low, middle income countries, has experienced some challenges, particularly in the quality of care that is given, in the content, and also the duration of the content, and between different countries. The barriers to quality midwifery education and training in the low, middle income countries, as Peter explained, we also have deficient curriculum in terms of inadequate content, insufficient and poorly trained lecturers. Midwifery educators are not connected with the clinical practice or not having opportunities to update their clinical knowledge or skills. In most cases, you find that the students sometimes come and give you updates as a lecturer in the school. So I think that's why it is important for the lecturers also to have the updates. And of course, as you know, educators are more confident with theoretical classroom teaching than the clinical teaching. That one, I know the lecturers will agree with that. So skilled attendance at birth is important for the provision of emergency and newborn care. And this can avert about 83% of maternal deaths, stillbirths, and neonatal deaths. KMTC reviewed and updated the nursing and the midwifery and clinical medicine reproductive health curricula to integrate the EMOC component. After this, there was a two-part capacity building for the reproductive health educators as trainer of trainers. And this was aimed at the lecturers having the knowledge and the skills, and then to pass the same to all the other lecturers in all the MTCs. The paper reports on the change in confidence of the pre-service midwifery and the clinical medicine educators on how to deliver the EMOC updated curriculum after the training workshop in Kenya. The design, this was a cross-sectional online survey assessment before and after both workshops between September and November 2020. This was during the COVID-19 confinement period. Intervention, it was a two-part workshop where we had the virtual for the theoretical component and a face-to-face for the practical component. The updates were aimed, the key updates were specific in EMOC, particularly respectful maternity care. That was a component that was missing. Communication using the SBAR tool. Then there was also the maternal early obstetric warning sign, the MEARS chart, WHO surgical safety checklist, and the introduction to LPDSR. There was also assessment for providing effective feedback, and this was aimed because most of our trainings are more of theoretical. We wanted to have some interactive session during our teaching, and that's why the component of including this other presentation was very important. The lecturers were 51 in number. We had 19 males and 32 females. And these were the lecturers that were actively involved in teaching reproductive health, assessing the students, supervising the same students at the Kenya Medical Training College. This included the educators from midwifery and also from clinical medicine teaching reproductive health, actively involved in assessing and teaching. 35 KMTCs were involved. And of course, you can see the delivery of the training. It was a blended type where we had virtual and the face-to-face approaches. For the training content, as I had said, it was a pre and post type of study, and there was anonymous online assessment for the lecturers. So the training content, there was assessment, which is pre and post, anonymous online assessment, designed using a checklist in Google Form. The self-reported confidence was covering a few key areas here. We wanted to see whether the lecturers were able to facilitate online teaching, practical teaching skills, including demonstration of the skills, scenario and stroke simulation teaching, facilitating small group discussion, just to be away from the traditional lecture method, peer review, and assessment and giving effective feedback. Most of the time, the educators are blamed of not giving very effective feedback. You know the way we normally give our students feedback. So this was a component, a very important area to focus on during the training. The confidence was rated using a 3-point Likert scale, and we wanted to know whether the lecturer or not confident, whether they were somehow confident or extremely confident in the key issues listed above. The ethics or ethical issues, there was clearance was not obtained for this particular study because the study was approved by the Ministry of Health as part of the project monitoring and evaluation plan. Participants gave an informed consent, and it was anonymous. No participant identification was collected. For the analysis, we used proportions and also looked at the p-value to see whether it was statistically significant. The results. For the demographic characteristics, again, females were more, they were 32, and the male were only 19, again giving us 63%. For the cadre, the nurse midwives were 32, clinical officers were 16, and the medical officers were 3. Management role in addition to teaching, again we had about 25 half of the participants who also had other management role apart from just teaching midwifery. So confidence in facilitating online teaching, the educators' confidence is, you can see, 2 felt that they were not confident at all. Somewhat confident. Initially, there was about 30, and then after the study, of course, you can see about 70% indicated that were extremely confident. That is on facilitating online teaching. Key to note here, before the start of the workshop, 31 out of the 41 educators had used Zoom or Google Meet for online virtual teaching platform. The confidence of educators in facilitating of different participatory teaching methodology. For the skill demonstration, you can see there was significant improvement from 44 to 96. For the scenario stroke simulation teaching, we had 46 to 92. Teaching competency, small group discussion, we had 46 to 94. Peer review and feedback, 47 to 77. And giving feedback to students, 46 to 92. So we can say that there was great improvement in the level of confidence. So in the discussion, we are saying interventions improved the educators' confidence in facilitating online teaching and learning, and also using stimulating participatory teaching methodologies to enhance learning. There was also improved confidence of educators to deliver practical-based EMOC, enhanced curricula using a broadened approach. Again, this boosts student participation in teaching and learning, a pathway for competent, skilled health personnel at the time of graduation to enable our students to be more competitive in the market. Conclusion, we are saying that the broadened training improved the confidence of pre-service educators to deliver the updated midwifery and the clinical medicine curriculum. Additional support and upskilling through regular mentorship and continuous professional development on life-saving EMOC skill is required so that these essential acquired skills and attitudes can be retained by these educators. So those are our partners, and we acknowledge them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we are seeing something that is recurring on and off, that it is required of us to be mentored, to be followed, to be monitored, or to monitor ourselves every so often, so that we keep the skills and also the quality. I'm so happy that the aspect of respectful maternity care has come in, or it is incorporated into the training, because that is what used to make our mothers go to the TBAs, because of the respect they are given. So if we have the knowledge, we have the skills, we respect the mother, then they will come and give birth in our facilities with a skilled birth attendant, and by so doing, we will reduce the maternal morbidities and mortalities. Thank you very much, Millicent. So can we have the next presenter, please? Okay. Yes.
Politics, this is the last time you are seeing me on stage.
We are not bored of seeing you.
There are new members who joined in, who they can be allowed to introduce themselves, please.
Yes, please, the new members who joined our team, Karibuni Sam. You can introduce yourselves. Yes. Rachel.
Okay, good morning. My name is Rael Muchai, and nice to meet you.
I hope we are not going to be monos. So yeah. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Mary Kokonya. I work for the British High Commission or the UKAID. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Somebody else? Yes, please.
Hi, how are you? My name is Alice Achim. I work with MK. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taylor, for the opportunity to introduce them. From their portfolios, you must have realized who they are. I'm always reminded that it's only a book that is not serious with life that will invite a lion to the dinner party. Failing to introduce them, I don't know whether I'll eat tomorrow. I would like to speak shortly about a systematic review of the National Continuous Professional Development Processes and Systems for midwifery educators within the low and middle income countries. From the start of these sessions, we've all we've been hearing about trainings, capacity strengthening, trainings. But then in their conclusions, you will also realize that training alone is not everything. It's new. Training peke yake sio kila kitu. In our village, Peter and also told us something. I know, you know beards. Beards, yes, this one. Chapman has the best beards. Goat. The goat. Now they say that if beards were everything, then the goat would preach. If training was to be everything, then we would not be involved ourselves in so many things that we are doing. Just do the training and forget about everything. That's the need for us to have. We wanted to just see what happens. We are talking about training. Can we have systems that can ensure that these things are sustained within our systems, so that even when we do not have a training, people have a platform where they can improve, at least reassure their competencies and skills in terms of what they usually do. So I'll give a small background to this review. What exactly we went out to find and what did we find, and then conclude. This slide is also very current in all the presentations we've had to do, because we are talking about midwifery educators and midwifery education. So I will not repeat this one. This one, also part of it has been already repeated here, but then I will just wish to emphasize that WHO emphasizes that for us to be able to improve the quality of midwifery education, then midwives and midwifery educators need to have mandatory CPD opportunities where they can update themselves in terms of their competencies and skills for us, and assured self-practice, competent and effective. And this will also help us to ensure that we are at least moving towards the achievement of the UHC and the maternal SDGs. Now, despite this emphasis from WHO kwamba midwifery educators and midwives need mandatory CPD, as another review was done in the African region to just find out if there is anything around CPDs for these educators and midwives. And only just about a third of the countries at least had some component of this CPD thing for these educators. And that is why we went in specifically to look at what is available, what are the approaches that have been used for the systems within these CPDs, what is the content of what is available for these educators, and have they been effective. So we will also look at a component in terms of the effectiveness for these. This systematic review has been registered under the Prospero as required for all the systematic reviews for you to be able to conduct it. So we developed a protocol and registered it at that site, Prospero, just as I mentioned, and we are defining our CPD in this case as just this opportunity for a professional to be able to maintain, improve, or broaden their knowledge and skills in what they are usually doing. Because if you do not have an exposure for you to improve this, your competence, you end up going to teach things that are likely to be outdated, and then you start again getting these things where we are always blamed that the educators are not updated. They are telling us outdated things in the hospital when we come to assess students. So we conducted a search strategy for all the relevant electronic databases to just see what has been reported in this. And this was not enough. We also did citation searching for some of the papers that we thought were relevant, and they could lead us to other papers that have important information regarding this CPD work. And the commonest terms we were focusing on here, we looked at the CPD itself, and it is not a common thing, so we broadened our search to include things like faculty development, capacity building, just for us to be able to get at least all that has been covered around this area in terms of for this midwifery educator. And then we focused our search specifically to the low and middle-income countries based on the World Bank classification of countries in 2019. So we did also a search by including each and individual country named under that, classified as a low and middle-income countries. Our search was for the studies that have been conducted between 2000 and the year 2021. 2000 because at least much of the improvements and innovations around midwifery education, things to do with FANG, were happening around this year 2000. This is the period we believe there was much innovation and improvement around areas of midwifery training. So we were able to get around 300 papers looking at all those databases. But unfortunately, looking at the exclusion criteria, only about 9 of the papers met our inclusion criteria, with 7 reports to be included in these studies. Of the 7 reports, 6 of them are from UNFPA, and 1 of them is from the International Confederation of Midwives. We also did an appraisal of these papers just to be sure that we are dealing with the right quality of papers in terms of ensuring they are quality for us to be able to include each of these papers within this rating. And due to the heterogeneity of these papers, some of them qualitative, some of them quantitative, we did a narrative synthesis. We used a narrative synthesis approach where we are looking at these papers qualitatively and just to be able to see what they are each speaking about and conclude by having an overall picture of what these papers are saying. As results, not much has been covered in the country, in the low and middle income countries. The countries are quite many, but if you look at what we have here, some of these papers, some of the specific papers were coming from Nigeria, then a number of them were combined in different countries. And then for the reports, they were covering a number of countries, about 42 to 47 countries. Those are the UNFPA reports, those countries all within the low and middle income countries. And as per the objective, I also present the results based on the approaches, content, and the effectiveness. Now, when you look at the approaches commonly described for CPD, we have about 5 approaches. I will not speak about the 5 of them. I will concentrate on 3 that I think they are key. The commonest approach used for these capacity building approaches is the twinning approach. Now, the twinning approach involves a higher middle income country teaming up with a low middle income country. This can be in terms of either funding or technical personnel. On the development of the program, some of them will come from a higher income country and then they come and give the low middle income country because it has worked there, and therefore they bring it to the low middle income countries to see whether these are approaches that are working. Good thing we've seen with this training approach from the papers we've reviewed, the success of these collaborations or these engagements is that anytime we've had this approach, the localization of that content to within the specific country where people are going to use it, the adaptation of that high income content to the low income to suit the needs of the low income country is very crucial for the success of this approach. Another key feature of this training approach, we've had a component on mentoring, where the high income country colleagues support the low income colleagues through mentorship, just to be sure that when they leave, then all is not lost. At least they've created capacity within the low and middle income countries. Then looking at the green field and that directed by the regulators, ordinarily it is expected that each country within their professions, they know exactly what their needs are. And therefore, these are the 2 critical players who are supposed to come up with these CPDs. because we already know what is ailing us, and therefore we are able to align this content to what we need, to what exactly fits us. But if you look at the studies, the evidence out there, only 2 studies at least have an element of a national medical professional body, or the midwifery associations, or the nursing cancer associations, be participating in coming up at least with a CPD program. Meaning it is an area that is really not explored. Local countries are not actively participating in terms of coming up with these specific contents for their people. Regulated by educators, globally it is known that if something is being directed by the regulators, these are the people who know exactly what our nurses need, and therefore in terms of their design, their programs are likely, everybody has shown that their programs are then even more legitimate to the people who take it. But if you look at the evidence available from the local countries, just one paper at least had an element of a local regulator participating in this. Unfortunately, was in Nigeria, not even in Kenya. Now, if you look at the content that some of these 16 papers, that is 9 studies and the 7 reports have covered, there is a large element of this covering at least aspects to do with curriculum and educational approaches. These are the teaching approaches specifically for the educators. However, what has been deficient in these things to do with the formative and summative evaluations and assessment for students, this has been an area that is really deficient within the approaches that have been studied, and also things to do with feedback from teachers to the students. This is an area that is also missing, and also the aspect of mentoring and follow-up support by teachers to the students. Then a good number of them at least have covered some component of emergency obstetrics care. Then some of them have found it useful, at least for the nurse educators and the midwifery educators, to participate in leadership positions, because we are expected to lead in their advocacy, and as leaders, then we are able to participate in decision making for our midwifery educators and our practitioners. And therefore some components about education research have also been studied, and then program management and evaluation has also been covered. In terms of the evaluation, I also narrow my reporting on this based on the Kirkpatrick level that I mentioned earlier, that looks at the 4 levels. So what we've seen from the report from the 16 papers is that very few of them, just about 3 of them, at least covered something by asking the educators to see whether the programs that were available, they were satisfied with them, or those focus were meeting their needs. Only 3 of them were able at least to get this feedback from the people who are using that. And in terms of assessment of whether there is any improvement in terms of knowledge and skills, again, fewer papers here, 9. But at least the good thing is that at least for all the papers, there was an improvement in terms of the knowledge and skills for these educators on the various components that they were able to participate in. When we look at behavior, at least most of those papers, this is an area that we at least covered more often. And the good news here was that at least for the people who participated in this program, they were able to participate in the midwifery curricular reviews. They were able to innovate their teaching methodologies and improve their confidence, even to teach students. And some of them have reported individual growth as professionals and also as researchers, which is a good thing for both, because you want to grow as an individual at the same time giving higher scores for the institution, because the higher the institution, also the better for the people working there. Then looking at the outcome, students have also reported improved outcomes in terms of their performance, in terms based on what they have been taught. And then those educators who also participated here, a good number of them have reported advancement in their qualifications. Some of them have received promotions based on these programs they have been able to participate in. Some of them rose from lecturers to heads of departments. Some of them are progressed from now the teaching institutions to ministries of health as key decision makers there. And a good number of them have also improved in terms of their capacity as scholars and researchers, which is a good thing for us to be able to improve what is happening around. Then we need to also be updated with what is happening globally and contribute to that body of knowledge. So in conclusion, in over 100 low and middle income countries that we know, we only had about 16 papers. And for these 16 papers, this work was in countries that had just slightly less than 10. So there is really no evidence of these programs within these low and middle income countries. And for the regulator accredited CPD programs, where there was only one and it was not even a fully program in Nigeria, this is also testament that there is really very low participation of our national regulators in terms of coming up with programs that can be used to improve the capacity of the educators. And therefore this is also a study that gives a strong indication on why we need to design a midwifery educator-specific program, such that after trainings, then people can have a system where they can be at least accessing to improve their competencies and skills. And in one of the presentations, my colleague will speak about this specific educator program that we developed.
We have, when going for interview, you must present your license from your regulatory body to see that you are a safe practitioner. So I'm very happy that we are working together with the Nursing Council to be able to ensure that our midwifery lecturers are up to date in the knowledge, in the skills, in our behavior, and secondly, in our personal development also. Because as we develop the programs and the universities, the colleges, we also need to grow as individuals, to be good scientists who can be able to design programs and be able to implement. So I think it is time for us to have the panelists come in front. Yes? Okay, sorry.
Has confused you, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm just presenting on behalf of Duncan. He is the PI for this next presentation, which is a protocol that sort of builds with what we have been talking. And maybe by now, for those of you who are new in LSTM, you will realize the vision for LSTM is to be able to improve health outcomes, especially in MNH, through partnerships in research and education. So, one research is just building onto the next and to the next, and the mission really is to improve the outcomes at the end of the day. So for this study about the evaluation of the feasibility of a midwifery educator continuous professional development program in Kenya and in Nigeria, it's a protocol. This is going to be the outline, sort of similar. I love that lady, she's like the old staff nurses. Yeah, I think Duncan has also mentioned a lot about the need of designing a regulator improved midwifery educator program, so that, in some forums, some educators in midwifery have said, we always are interacting with midwifery education and midwifery journals and books. Do we need CPD points to renew our licenses? But I think from the studies that we have seen, we realize that even as midwifery educators, we need to have CPD points to be able to, renew our licenses and to improve the way we teach midwifery. I think it was mentioned earlier on, but I can also say it again, that when we talk about CPD, it is about the means by which members of a profession like us midwives improve and broaden our knowledge and expertise, our competencies, especially in the skills activities, and to be able to develop the personal and professional qualities required throughout our professional midwifery lives and practice. So that is going to be the definition that we are working with. So LSTM has developed actually a CPD program that is going to be it is going to be delivered through the WCA platform. So most of us are aware of it. And so this study is about testing the feasibility of that CPD program. And it's going to be a blended midwifery educator CPD program for sustaining and improving the education, the competencies of the midwifery educators in as how they deliver their teaching, how they do the student assessments, how we monitor and evaluate the students in terms of the feedback we give, and also how we use the digital innovations in teaching, midwifery competencies. So it is the CPD program is made up of 20 hours of self-directed online learning and 2-day face-to-face learning. So it is a blended learning program. And the CPD program also is aligned to the ICM Essential Competencies for Midwifery Practice and the National Code of Conduct for Midwifery Practice and Education. So there is a need to test whether this CPD is feasible and whether it is practical and whether it meets the objectives of the interventions. And so we really want to test it. So that is why we are using a feasibility study to see whether it is appropriate, whether it is needed by the midwifery educators, whether it is relevant and sustainable in answering the question, can it work? Can midwifery educators, do they really need a CPD program, and is it possible to be able to implement among the midwifery educators? So the key focus on feasibility studies is about the acceptability and the relevance, and whether it is practical, adaptable, whether it is even demanded, or whether it is really possible to integrate it within the system. Like Nursing Council, are they able to integrate it within the Nursing Council CPD programs for the professions who register with the council? So the study objective broadly is to look at, is first of all to design the CPD program, then implement it, and then evaluate it. And this is going to be evaluated in lower middle income countries. The specific objectives will be using the Kirkpatrick model that Duncan talked about. That is to document the participants' reaction and assess their change in knowledge and their change in skills and confidence in terms of the teaching skills, and also explore what are the enablers and barriers to participating in the CPD programs by midwifery educators. So this is the diagram that has flown around by now. I think if you go home with nothing, go home with the Kirkpatrick's framework. It's an interesting one to use, especially when you are using mixed methods, where we measure the reaction, learning behavior, and the impact of a program. So the method we're going to use is a multi-country, multi-site intervention study design, where we'll be using mixed method research design. And we are also going to have the intervention by using the self-directed online CPD modules and practical sessions, the face-to-face sessions in the host CPD centers. And then we are going to have self-directed online modules and then the practicals and the assessment skills in a face-to-face, as we have said. And the participating countries possibly selected is Nigeria and Kenya. And both universities and middle-level colleges are going to be selected to participate in this study. And the sampling and sample size, as a general rule of thumb, we are going to use at least a sample size of 30 or greater is going to help us to estimate a parameter. And using the self-directed online, we expect to have at least a convenient sample of 200 midwifery educators. 140 of them in Kenya and 60 of them in Nigeria. This is going to be very purposive according to the total number of teaching institutions that are available in both countries. And for the practical components, we are going to use a convening sample of 90 educators, 60 of them from Kenya and 30 from Nigeria, over 2-day face-to-face workshops. Only participants who would have completed the STL CPD modules will be, invited to come to the face-to-face. This is because this model has been tried in other studies. I think what Millicent presented and others, we've seen that this model has been tried and tested and proved to be able to give us results that we can be able to really align with the objectives of the study. And the educators from the training institutions that have not benefited from previous regular mentoring of midwifery educators on pedagogy and EMOC skills will participate. So we will try to look for those midwifery educators who have not been able to participate in what LSTM has been offering for midwifery educators. So, data collection at level 1, we will use end of module satisfaction online evaluations using a Likert scale to just be able to measure the fit for purpose for the CPD program, and also be able at level 2 to do pre-post tests for the knowledge acquisition for the midwifery. How much was the CPD online self-directed learning, how much knowledge have they been able to receive. And you notice that the issue of retention, knowledge retention, so is the CPD helping the midwifery educators to retain this knowledge that we really want to retain. And then we will also test the teaching skills during the face-to-face by observing, also using an online checklist, how much they have been able to retain during the face-to-face. So additionally, we are also going to have qualitative surveys. We will conduct them with pre-service stakeholders using both online and key informant interviews to just inform how the program can be improved in terms of its design, uptake, and feasibility. So on analysis, we will use descriptive statistics to just describe what is happening within the study variables and binary logistic regression models that we use. The pre-post test changes in knowledge are going to be measured using linear regression models. And then the micro-teaching skills, we will also use mean modes and medians for descriptive statistics. And we will do thematic analysis of the qualitative data. So this study is currently undergoing ethical review at LSTM IRB and Kenya and Nigeria IRBs. So we hope to receive those IRB approvals before data collection. And then the participants, we of course have the participant information sheet and be required to sign an informed consent for voluntary participation into the study. And data will be identified, especially during the face-to-face, and of course even the online sessions, and the results will not be shared to their managers. If my dean should not find out that I wasn't scoring so well in my CPD, and then she could write for me a poor performance note. Yeah, so it will also not form part of the appraisals, for the educators. So I think we are doing well with the work plan. So we hope that by the end of July, we should actually have the results of this study out in publication or in our workshop. If we had another KML, probably if you are in attendance, you will be able to get in touch with the results for this study. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mwansia. I'm sorry about the small confusion, but no problem. It is a feasibility study that they are going to do, and this will inform us, especially to know the enablers and the barriers, so that we can deal with them and put strategies in place to ensure that we run smoothly the midwifery educators CPD program. So I really appreciate the plan for that. by SSTM, and we want to believe that we will get the approvals and the study can be done on time as we prepare, because we really need to keep ourselves updated as midwife lecturers. It brings a lot of confidence when you are doing when you are teaching and you can demonstrate very well. And Dr. Lydia Mwanshi, after the training we had, put in place in our university a lot of effort and planning for the students in the skills lab to practice before they go to labor ward, and they look forward to that, and all of us feel good when we are doing what you know and you are confident. So every 2 years, if we can be updated, I'm telling you the care will be great, and I want to believe we'll have even more students wanting to join with you for their postgraduate programs. Thank you very much. Let us have the panelists come as well.